Okay, welcome to Chapter 12. This is the last chapter in the book. Hooray! And this one is on system support and security, which is the same as the SDLC Phase 5, system support and security. Okay, on page 504 they have the chapter objectives. Let's just go through that really quickly to make sure we've got everything. Explain the system support and security phase, the phase that we're in. Describe user support activities to include user training and service desk. Define 4 types of maintenance. Explain various techniques for managing systems. Describe techniques for measuring, managing, and planning system performance. Explain risk management. Security at 6 levels. Describe backup and disaster recovery. List factors that indicate when an item is probably reached its useful life. And it talks about future challenges and opportunities for IT professionals and developing a strategic plan for career advancement. Those two are kind of odd to be thrown into this chapter, but it'll actually make sense when we get there. On page 505 is that normal preview case that I really like. This is the last one of those, and so it's kind of wrapping it all up. So on 506, they kind of give an overview of what this phase is about, and then conversely what the chapter is all about. It talks about the system support and security phase begins when the system becomes operational, continues until it reaches the end of its life. So that's the phase that we're in. After delivering the system, the IT team focuses on training and maintenance of the system. So you don't have to worry about installing it or doing research for new parts. We're talking about keeping it going, tweaking it. The first one they talk about is user support and user training. Now you might think, well, hey, we did user training in the last chapter. Well, yeah, but that was for installing a new system. So 6 months has gone by and you've hired a new employee. You're still going to have to train them. And so the IT department is typically one that takes over that training requirement. In my work experience, what we did is we had a little booklet. It was a new employee guide, and it contained information about how our network drives were put together and how we used email, and the norms on how we conduct ourselves on the computers and on the network, what you can and can't do. It wasn't really like one of those acceptable use policy things. It wasn't that. It was a little bit more loose about, welcome to our organization. Here's how all the electronic stuff works. And whenever we would create a new account in Exchange, we would automatically fire off a welcome email to them that contained this as an attachment. So everyone got a copy of this thing, and we're always tweaking and keeping it up. And it basically told them everything they needed to know about the vast majority of our systems. It did not go into detail of everyone because we had a gazillion of them. Okay, so new employees must be trained on the company's new information system. That's just what we're talking about. The IT department may develop a user training package. That's just what I was talking about. Training users about system changes is similar to the initial training. So if we do something, we got a new patch or a new thing that happened, or just any type of change, you might have to gather everybody together again and go over training. It might not even be a bad idea if you had a complicated system that every 6 months you have a refresher training. Not necessarily for skill level things, but for kind of like the big picture, like, okay, now if you were trying to do this, what would you do? That kind of stuff. And the objective is to show the users how the system can help them do their job. That's the whole point. Now, these systems are designed, of course, to make the company money, but they're also designed to make the life of the user better. And so they talk about service desk, and everyone loves to poke fun at service desk. I mean, there's websites out there that just do nothing but. In fact, if you want to have a laugh, you need to go to techcomedy.com, and it's all about people who work on help desk and the crazy things that they hear. Okay, so the idea, of course, is to enhance productivity, improve the utilization of the existing systems. You guys might remember a scenario that I gave way back in some of the other chapters. And the scenario goes like this. let's say, for example, that you had a budget of $1,000, and $1,000 per person in your organization, and you wanted to make people more efficient using the automation tools that you had. What would you spend it on? Would you spend it on getting them a bigger computer, or more hard drive space, or more memory, or an OS upgrade, or maybe a different version of Microsoft Office? I mean, $1,000 can get them a lot of stuff. And when I ask this question, people come back and say, well, yeah, they need to upgrade this, need to upgrade that, need to upgrade that. And typically that's the wrong answer, because quite literally, if you were to take someone who doesn't really know how to operate their machine to the fullest as it is, and you swap them out with the latest and greatest hardware and software, you haven't changed anything. It's helping the users use what they already have is where you can get the most bang for your buck. So $1,000 on training, and I'm not talking about sending them off someplace to train. I'm talking about having someone sit there in the cube with them and say, show me what you do, and then say, I could write a script or an Excel macro, or I could do something here to make your job easier. There are people I know that aren't familiar with the mail merge feature of Word, and will type, print up 12 copies of a letter they're sending out because they had no idea that mail merge existed. So those kinds of things. So helping people be more efficient at doing what they're already doing is what IT is supposed to be doing for you. The IT desk is a central contact for basically all the maintenance activities. Makes sense. And then they say here are the 3 basic categories of things that IT is supposed to do. Show people how to use system resources more efficiently. In other words, something that comes to mind is things like, why'd you send that to the color printer? I mean, it was just a draft that you were going to throw away. You should have sent that to the black and white printer, that kind of stuff. Provide answers to technical or operational issues, like, hey, I'm stuck, or I got a problem. And then lastly, make users more productive by teaching them how to meet their own information needs. Okay. Now later on we're going to talk about off-sourcing. And you can see how if I outsource, particularly offshore, you can do password resets and things like that, offshore. But when it comes to trying to provide them information to make their job more efficient, that's not going to work. Okay. On page 507, they talk about user support, help desk tasks. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but these are things that you're familiar with. Show a user how to create a query, and resolve a network or password problems. Blah blah blah. But I'm not going to read the whole thing. But you know what we're talking about. This is just typical kinds of things you'd expect from a help desk. And then they continue on about other things that the IT department could be doing. They're no longer going out researching how much memory do I need on this server kind of a thing. So now they've switched tasks to looking at the things that they've already got. So provide information about system specifications and the cost of new. The next iteration, they're going to come to them and say, hey, okay, we're getting ready to do yet another project. I need your help, kind of a thing. Recommending system solutions that integrates data from different locations. In other words, if I'm doing a project where I'm going to integrate into an existing system, where else would I go? Well, of course I'm going to the IT department. They know the most about the new system. The existing system. Provide hardware support for installing and reconfiguring devices, scanners, printers, network cards. Show users how to maintain data consistency, integrity in their desktop computer and network and databases and all those things. And troubleshoot software issues, and hopefully done through remote controls so you don't have to physically go to their desks. Okay, those are kind of some of the things that you can do. Part of the problem with an IT department is there's kind of a stigma associated with an IT department. It's sort of like, I'm stuck here. I really wanted this job over here, but I'm stuck down here. And there are companies out there that they will hire you, but you have to spend so many months doing tech support before you can go up the corporate ladder. I think that's a fantastic idea. You will know more about how to develop a system by getting user stories from people who can't operate the existing one. I mean, you get people calling up saying, I don't know what to do. And you go over and look at the screen and say, well, isn't it obvious what you're supposed to do next? I mean, there's a little button here that says next. No, I don't get it. Well, when you hear a bunch of those things, when it comes time for you to develop the system, you're going to make it more obvious what it is you're supposed to do next. You know, step 1, step 2, step 3 kind of a thing. Because now you've heard from others. Okay. So we're talking about outsourcing. We're going to get a little bit more detail. But on 508, they talk about, you know, offshore call centers can trim expenses and free up IT resources to do other things. That's true. And critical factors might include, you know, the phone wait times, your support staff performance, and online support tools. And again, that works well for please reset my password and I can't get out of this screen kind of a thing. But that doesn't work for the flip if it's, you know, hey, I need some help with an Excel macro. That don't work. Okay, maintenance tasks. One of the things they talk about is, you know, how much money does it cost to maintain, keep running, you know, a brand new system? And typically, obviously, it's going to cost a lot to start. And then the costs are going to start dropping down because, you know, we all got it in place, we've ordered all the parts we need, all the replacements, and all the tapes, and all the things that we need, and now we're just into maintenance mode. And then things start failing. It's like, oh man, that tape drive's making this horrible racket. I think we need to buy another one. Or, okay, I've had, you know, one drive fail on the RAID last week, and I got another one that looks like it's getting ready to fail this week. Maybe we ought to start swapping out hard drives. And so the maintenance expenses start creeping back up. And you can imagine this is kind of the scenario that you use to determine when the useful life of a system has been reached. Is, okay, I'm spending a heck of a lot of money keeping this thing together. I'll tell you another story. And this is just kind of a fascinating coincidence, and I really can't explain it necessarily, but it's been proven to me to be true on several occasions. We had a server, and we were swapping out, and so you know, we brought them all up, you know, in parallel. We copied all the data across. We named them the same name, and then in the middle of the night, one night, we switched them around so that when people came in the next morning, they were talking to the new server, and they didn't even know that we had a new server. It was just all magic. So we took the old ones, and we just said, well, let's just, you know, set them off in the corner. So we unplugged them and set them off in the corner. So we had 2 servers sitting in the corner of the computer room for about 6 months. And then one day somebody said, you know, I really need a development server that I can play with that, you know, we can't mess with the production. We said, oh, well, just grab one of those guys. Now, these servers have been running non-stop for 4 years. I mean, non-stop for 4 years, never missed a beat. Neither one of them would come on. Not the first one. You know, drives wouldn't spin up. There was a hardware failure here. And so I said, oh, well, that's kind of strange. Let's go to the other one. And so we fired it up, and it wouldn't come up. It had hard drive failures. It had all these things. And it was just sitting in a warehouse, so to speak. It was sitting in the corner of a room, unplugged. That's all it took. So we realized, of course, that, you know, you can't count on old, you know, once the machine has reached its end of life, once it's got that maintenance tail going back up, even if you unplugged it and set it aside, don't expect to be able to bring that thing back up without spending money. So you might think, oh, well, I'm done. I'm not going to spend any more money on that guy. I'm just going to sit him in the corner of the room. If I need him, I'll just plug him back in and turn him on. No, you're not. Okay, so this is probably a good place to stop at the 15-minute mark, and we'll pick this up again in just a few.